This is a full brand review of Merit Beauty, every single product in the line. So Merit Beauty launched in January 2021, and they have quickly become one of my favorite beauty brands. I would maybe even rate them in my top 5 and for sure in my top 10 favorite beauty brands right now. So I have tried every single product in the line. I'm going to give you a review of each product. I'm wearing a full face of Merit Beauty today, so you will see cutaways of how I apply each product, my favorite method of application, swatches, as well as a formula review on how each product wears. I will of course leave links to everything below. You can shop Merit Beauty on their website or on Sephora, so I'll leave links for both websites. I'm starting with a brand overview, then we will talk complexion, cheek products, eye products, and finish off with lip products. So Merit occupies this mid-range price point from the high 20s to the high 30s, but to me what makes them stand out is that they look, perform, and feel like a luxury beauty brand. Everything from their packaging, their color curation, and even their website user experience feels elevated. It feels a little bit more high-end than I think the price point is. I would describe Merit Beauty's aesthetic overall as sophisticated chic minimalism, and that applies to their packaging, their branding, their kind of tightly edited line of products, as well as the look that the products achieve. This is makeup that is meant to look good in person. It's about functionality as much as it is about elegance, and you can see that in the design of their products. I oftentimes think of Merit Beauty as the grown-up version of Glossier. It's like we graduated from Glossier and now we're a little bit older, a little bit more elegant, a little bit more put together. And there is this kind of streamlined, sexy quality to Merit Beauty. That said, the brand very much, I think, speaks to current trends in beauty, which are radiant skin and cream products. Because these are all creams, they're not necessarily designed for long wear or hard wearing makeup days. These are designed for makeup to look good in person in your day-to-day life. But because there are no powder products, it can limit, I think, who is able to use these products and in what way. The brand generally is best suited for normal to dry skin types, as well as combo like me. But because there are no powder products across the brand, especially in complexion and cheeks, I think oily skin types may want to be a little bit more selective about which products they incorporate into their routines. And I will talk about all of those details now. So let's start with the Minimalist, and this is what Merit Beauty calls their perfecting complexion stick. They say, it's not a foundation or a concealer, but it'll replace both in your makeup bag. Now with 1.7 times more product and redesigned for durability on the go. I think that makes a huge difference because the price is the same. This is $38, and now it contains 6.5 grams, whereas previously it contained 3.7 grams. This comes in 20 shades, and I think it's a pretty inclusive line from very fair to very deep. And I have 2 shades. I don't know if I have the perfect shade in this line, but I have 2 shades that both work well for me, and the finish of this is a light to medium foundation. So because it is sheer, it's spreadable, I don't find that I need the most perfect match. But the 2 shades that I have are Sand and Bisque, which is what I have on my face today. Sand I find to be a little bit peachier and warmer, whereas Bisque is a little bit more neutral. They are in the medium category technically. I think they're more of a light medium personally. So there are many ways to apply this stick foundation. The easiest way is to swipe it directly onto the skin and blend it out with a brush, and they do have a brush which I'll discuss in a second. When I first tried this stick foundation, I was really surprised at how easily it blended out, because oftentimes I find with stick foundations, if you swipe them directly on the skin, they just kind of stay where you swipe them, and then you end up with a really patchy application. That is not the case with this stick foundation. It blends out really evenly. It has a nice glide. It doesn't stay stuck where you applied it on the skin, and it just is very adjustable in coverage. I also like to apply this over slightly damp skin, and this might be a good trick if you have dry skin as well. So I used my Milk Makeup setting spray, the Hydro Grip setting spray, to prime my skin, and then I apply the stick foundation onto the skin over that, and it just adds a little bit more glide, a little bit more hydration if you're in need of that. This is one of the few stick foundations that I've ever really liked. And I think it has a lot to do with my skin type. So I mentioned that I am combo oily, and a lot of times stick foundations have a lot of waxes and emollient products in them that hold them together, that give you that spreadability across the skin, but over time can break down to become a little bit too oily or a little bit too shiny or potentially cakey. And this foundation is none of those things. Shockingly, this is a stick foundation that also works well for me as a concealer. And personally, I don't like to go super bright under the eyes. So one shade works well for me. The shade Bisque works well for me all over the face. I actually swipe this directly under my eye and on my outer corner. And for the under eyes, I actually like to take my finger and sort of pat out the concealer and melt it into the skin as I'm blending. And it becomes super seamless. It's a very thin application, and you still get a very controlled application of more or less coverage where you want it. And on my under eyes, it does not crease, it does not break up, it doesn't start to look funny or dry. It just somehow looks very skin-like across my whole face. I also love the stick applicator, and I like that the stick itself is really small. So you're able to apply it around the under eye or around the corners of the mouth or nose without applying a ton of product or spreading it too far. I think it's really thoughtful in its design, and it's a twist-up product as well. Let's talk about the #1 Complexion Brush, which is a perfect pairing with the Minimalist foundation. So this is $30, and it's a synthetic bristle brush. It has this thick black handle, and it's a very densely packed brush, but the hairs are cut at an angle, so it does give you some flexibility and a little bit of give. So it's dense enough to blend out the foundation, the stick foundation, but it also has just enough give to give you some movement as you're blending out the product across the face. I have raved about this foundation brush before, and I hope that they release more brushes because it is so soft. It's perfect for this foundation, but I also use it all the time with my other foundations, from liquids to creams, and it's just a very versatile product. I also like that it has this chubby ferrule, which means you can stand it up on your table if you are applying more product or just throughout your makeup routine, and it stays standing up, so you're not gonna get dust or anything on it, and I just think it's really thoughtful design. So those are their 2 complexion products. Like I mentioned, this is the foundation and concealer, so we don't have concealer separately, and we don't have a setting powder yet, though I would love to see that in the line. Let's move on to cheek products. There are 3 cheek products, and they are all creams in stick form. So there's the newly released Bronze Balm, there is the Cheek Flush, which is their cream blush, and their Day Glow, which is their cream highlighter. Let's start with the Bronze Balm, and I have reviewed this recently, and I think it was in my last month's favorites, so you'll have seen me use this. This is a stick bronzer that is described as a balm and not as a cream, and I think that distinction is important because a balm is more sheer, it's a little bit dewier, whereas a cream can be more pigmented and it just has a different kind of finish, right? Balms have a more emollient quality to them, and you will see that with this bronzer. This is $30, and there are 5 shades of bronzer, and this is the shade Seine, which is the 3rd deepest of the 5 shades. Personally, I would love to see one more deep shade. It comes in this really cute gold tube, and the tube itself is oval, and so is the stick. And I love the packaging detail of that oval shape because it allows you to apply under the cheekbone or around the face really easily. And if you want to use it to get under the hollows of the cheekbone, you can do that. Like the rest of the brand, the finish of this product is very sheer and dewy. It's not a product that sets down, so it's not like a cream that turns into powder. It actually stays sheer and dewy and emollient throughout the day. And that's something that people might love or hate. It can be a little bit polarizing, but I think it aligns with the overall aesthetic of the brand. To me, this is a true bronzer, not so much a contour, especially this shade Seine, because it is a very warm golden shade. It's not something that I would necessarily use to sculpt the face. It's more about creating that warmth and sun-kissed look across the forehead and across the tops of the cheeks. For me, with this product, I actually find that the best method of application is not to swipe this directly onto the face. I actually like to take a bronzer brush, sweep it across the top of the bronzer stick, and then stamp and stipple on my face as I need. For me, that's just generally how I like to apply cream products because it helps me control the application and get a really even, diffused look across the cheeks. My one con or potential con, point of feedback with this product is that for being so sheer and natural and dewy, it's not actually the most effortless to apply. Like I mentioned, I use that brush application method, and I do find that I have to spend a little bit of time building it up that way because I don't get a ton of pigmentation at once. And because of that, I spend just as long applying this as I would any other cream bronzer, or potentially maybe even longer, because it is so sheer and not uber pigmented. Across the whole line, the packaging is all very compact, it's convenient, it's travel friendly, and it's minimalist. So you can have a whole face of makeup and have it in a small makeup bag because it doesn't take up a lot of space. Next up are the brand's cream blushes, and this is called the Flush Balm, and this is $28. There are 5 shades of this blush, and they call this actually a cheek tint rather than a blush, which I think makes sense because they are very dewy, they're juicy, and they're sheer. So like the bronzers, they stay kind of dewy and emollient, and they don't set down on the cheek. The packaging of these I think is really cute. So they come in these really like short, stubby little stick forms, and they have a rounded top, and they are, I think, meant to be applied directly onto the cheeks, although I personally prefer the brush method, which is to take a cheek brush across the surface and then stamp it onto the cheek. They are newly repackaged, so if you purchase it now, you're going to get a gold base rather than the gray base, but the formula and the shades are the same. So I have 2 shades. The first one is called Terracotta, and this is almost like a warm apricot. I actually don't think it's a true terracotta. In my mind, a true terracotta is like a burnt brick red, whereas this is much more of like a peachy browny apricot shade. I also have the shade Beverly Hills, which is a true rosy pink. It's not too warm, it's not too cool, it's more of just that classic pink blush shade. I applied Terracotta on one side and Beverly Hills on the other side just so I could show you the 2 shades. I do lean more towards Terracotta because I like warmer tones, but I think both of these are very wearable and go with a variety of makeup looks. In the end, I did even out and do a mix of both shades on both cheeks, but in the application you'll see 1 shade on each side. Like I mentioned, this is a formula that does not set down, so it's not meant for long wear necessarily. It's more about creating that like fresh, almost like just applied skincare kind of a look. And because it doesn't set down, I think it can be a potentially polarizing formula. Some people or some skin types may not get along with this formula, especially oily skins, because this doesn't set down. I also think it's not the most buildable blush, so you're not going to get a very pigmented blush look even if you apply several layers of this because the nature of the formula is sheer. However, as someone with oily skin, I find it helps to apply this over a powdered base or over a matte base, or to top it off with a powder blush if you're looking for longer wear time. The last cheek product is their cream highlighter, which is called Day Glow. There are 3 shades of this. It's described as a highlighting balm, and it is very, very emollient. It's probably the most dewy of the 3 cheek products, and it almost melts on contact with the skin. I have the shade Citrine, which is described as a soft gold. This is a highlighter for people who want glossy skin. This is probably the most emollient and dewy product of all of the cheek products, and it almost melts directly on contact with the skin, whether that's your fingers or your face. You'll see when I apply this that my face is already very glossy from the bronzer and the blush because neither of those products set down. So this is not necessarily something I would wear with all 3 Merit cheek products. This is something I would add onto a more set base just to add a bit of shine across the cheeks. But if you have dry skin or you love that editorial glossy skin look, you will love this because it really looks like you just applied your skincare and your face stayed that way. Because this is so emollient, I have to be a little bit more careful in how I apply it. So I actually like to take a little brush or even a makeup sponge and just pick up a little bit of product across the top and lightly dab it across the top of my cheekbone. I do have to give a word of warning, at least in my experience, that if you over apply this, your hair will stick to your face. So you have to be a little bit more conservative or apply it on a day where your hair is out of your face. And definitely don't apply it on a windy day. But the finish on the skin is just stunning. It's beautiful. It looks glossy. It doesn't have any chunky glitter, though it does have a very, very fine sheen. It never looks like makeup. It actually looks like your skin. Moving on to eye products, Merit Beauty actually doesn't have any eyeshadows in their line. Personally, I would love to see a potted cream eyeshadow or maybe eyeshadow duos or quads. I think there's definitely room for that in the brand. And I could see a cream or a liquid eyeshadow really aligning with the other kinds of formulas that are in the brand already. So let's move on to the Clean Lash Mascara. This is $26, and this is one of my favorite tubing mascara formulas. This is a pretty unique tubing mascara formula because it's actually buildable. And if you've used other tubing formulas, you will know that the formulas are often a little bit more on the wet side, or once the lashes dry after application, you really can't add more without the lashes becoming clumpy. And this, on the other hand, is buildable. I find that it leaves the lashes feeling sort of touchable and soft so that I can go in with another layer of mascara if I want to. This gives you a clean, fluttery lash that I think is very much in alignment with the rest of the brand and their aesthetic. However, it is buildable, and so you can take it, I think, from day to night if you want to, or if you just really like to pile it on, you can do that too. The one thing that this mascara does not do for me is it doesn't hold a curl very well. And very few mascaras do, so I don't really count that against this mascara. I have very fine, very straight, almost downward pointing lashes, Asian lashes, and they're very short. So I applied the mascara without my usual mascara primer on my right eye. And on my left side, I used the Etude House Dr. Mascara Fixer that I've been using as my lash primer, just so I could show you the difference and really give you a fair look at how this mascara performs when I use it in my daily routine. On the right side, it definitely straightened the lashes as I was applying them, even though I had curled my lashes just before. And I'm perfectly happy with this lash look, but I think you can see once I have the primer down and the curl is really locked in place, it gives this mascara the best shot, I think, at having a really lifted, beautiful, fluttery look. I've emptied a couple of tubes of this mascara before, and this is a fresh one that I opened today. So I remembered that I like that this formula isn't too wet, like it's good right out of the tube. You don't have to wait too long for the mascara to dry out and be at its prime. It's good right out of the tube the second you open it. Moving on to brows, they have a volumizing pomade called the Brow 1980. This is meant to be a sort of volumizing brow gel that gives you soft hold as well as a tint. I know a lot of people who love this brow gel and it's like their holy grail brow gel. However, I have to admit that this is probably my least favorite product in the brand. And it's not because it's not a good product, it's just not the kind of product that I use very often in my brow routines because of the nature of my brows. So my brows are very stubborn, they grow downward, and it's very difficult to hold them in place. And you know me, I like to do a sort of clear brow gel and then add in brow hairs with a micro pencil or with a brow pen. So a tinted brow gel just isn't the type of product I reach for the most. That said, I do really like the consistency of this product. I like the gold packaging. I like the little spoolie. It really doesn't pick up too much product at once, and it's tapered and has a lot of space between the bristles, so I find you're actually able to comb through the brow hairs and apply that product to each individual brow hair really well. I also think that for a tinted brow gel, this gives me a decent amount of hold, although it's not enough hold to hold my brows up all day long. I think this will work for you if you already have full brows or if you already like the shape of your brows. For me, I like to actually manipulate the shape of the brows and create a more lifted appearance, and this simply doesn't do that. Even though I like the tint and I like the sort of fibers that this product adds into the brow to create that fluffy look just doesn't last on me. And so what ends up happening is that I apply the brow gel. I oftentimes like back comb against my lashes and then I comb the brow hairs in place. But as I'm applying, I find the pigment can be a little bit difficult to control. And so the pigment will get on the brow hairs as well as the skin under the brows, which sometimes can be a good thing to add that soft definition. But once my brows drop, the pigment is left on the skin above my brow without the brow hair covering it. And so it starts to look a little bit patchy and splotchy as the brow gel starts to drop. And for me, that happens relatively quickly within 10 to 15 minutes. And I'm gonna show you in the application how that happens. Also, this is a brow pomade and not a brow pencil or a brow pen. So it can add some pigment to your brows, but it's not going to add hair-like strokes if you have uneven brows or patchy brows or any bald spots within your brows. You can't really create shape or definition where there is no hair. So if you like tinted brow gels, I think this is a great option and you might really like this because of all the brow gels that I've tried, or of all the tinted brow gels and pomades I've tried, this has more hold than most. But for me, it's just not going to replace my current brow routine. I would love to see Merit Beauty come out with a micro brow pencil or maybe a brow pen even. I have a hard time seeing a brow pen happening. I think they would do a pencil before a pen, but even that I would be happy with. So the last category is lip products, and I think this is my favorite Merit Beauty category because they just knock it out of the park with the formulas as well as their color stories. First up is the shade Slick, and this is their tinted lip oil, and it retails for $24. There are 8 shades of this, and I have 5 shades, and I love all of them. In terms of formula, this is called a tinted lip oil, but I find it closer to like a serum gloss hybrid. It's not thick or gooey the way, for example, the Dior lip oil is. This is much thinner and serum-y and lightweight than that kind of lip oil. It's not the longest lasting because it is sheer, it doesn't set down, but it fades evenly and it's just so easy to reapply and it's very comfortable and hydrating on the lips. These get a ton of love from me. I wear them all the time. They're easy to throw in the bag on the go. The shades Marrakesh, Au Naturel, and Taupe are definitely my most used simply because they're the most quote-unquote nude, but I also love Cara Cara. I think it's a very wearable orange, And Falcon brings some really nice drama without having to commit to a really dark lip. It actually has a bit of a Clinique Black Honey effect. Personally, I think anyone would love this, even people who don't wear makeup, because they are so sheer. It's almost like a skincare serum for your lips that's tinted. You can wear these with a full face of makeup, or you can wear them on their own without it looking weird or out of place. Like I mentioned, they're not the longest lasting, but they do fade gracefully and they wear really nicely throughout the day, and they're just so easy to reapply. Especially the nude shades, I don't really need a mirror to reapply them because they are so close to my natural lip tone, but they add just a little bit of something sophisticated. And finally, you know I love the Merit Signature lipsticks. So this is a lightweight, sheer, buildable lipstick. It retails for $26, and there are 8 shades, of which I have 3, although I honestly can see myself having all 8 shades eventually because the shade curation is so beautiful. When I first reviewed this, I said this is a lipstick even for people who don't like to wear lipstick. And what I mean by that is that it's almost like a tinted lip balm that's on the waxier, more natural finish side. It starts out sheer, but it's buildable to a richer pigment if you like, although you won't ever get like a full matte opaque lip. This has a very skin-like finish. They describe it as a soft satin, although I think when you first apply it, there's a bit of shine that settles into a soft satin over time. It's also very comfortable on the lips because this isn't a matte lipstick. This has a slightly blurring silicone-y feel to it that actually feels very comfortable on the lips. It doesn't sink into lip lines. It doesn't bunch up or do anything funny. I do find the level of pigmentation varies with the shades. For example, Slip, which is the warm neutral shade, is very sheer. It starts out very sheer. But Cabo, which is that orangey red, which I love, does start out pretty bright right away. The shade I'm wearing now is my most recent acquisition, Tiger, and I think it's kind of somewhere in between Slip and Cabo. This is a lipstick formula I reach for all the time, especially if I don't want to commit to a really pigmented lip. It's like a step above lip gloss, but a step below a matte pigmented lipstick. And I do have to say, I think this is my favorite packaging of the whole line. And the tube itself has a really nice weight to it, which I can't say is true across the board. I think this is the most luxe and weighty packaging that's in the line. The other products are luxe looking, but they're not exactly like heavy weighty packaging. So that's it for the product application. I have everything on my face. I have some final thoughts about the brand, and I also want to speak really quickly about their website and the whole user shopping experience directly with the brand. Something I love about shopping on Merit's website is I find that their product swatches look very realistic. They don't look like photoshopped onto different skin tones. I feel like they are actual swatches of the actual products, and they have swatches on light, medium, and deep skin tones. So for example, with the Minimalist foundation stick, as you're shopping, they have a model for each foundation shade, and you can see realistic swatches on different skin tones. You can also see that with their lipstick swatches. They swatch on light, medium, and deep skin tones, and the swatches actually look different. The colors look different on every skin tone, which is how you know they're real and not the same swatch photoshopped over the arm of different people of color. When you click on a lipstick shade, you also see models of varying skin tones and ethnicities and skin depths. And I really appreciate that detail, especially when it comes to sheer lipsticks, because they're not as pigmented, so they do look different and more flexible across different skin tones. I also think Merit really incentivizes shopping direct on their website. So for example, if you're a first-time shopper, you get your order in this really cute little corduroy bag, and I think that is something that's actually appealing because it's not your regular tote bag. It can work as a makeup bag. I've used it to pack makeup when I'm traveling. I don't think it's the most sustainable practice. I don't think people necessarily need a corduroy bag. For me, this is just kind of a marketing ploy to get you to shop directly on the website. But I do appreciate that it isn't your standard like tote bag that you're gonna use once and forget about. This is actually cute in and of itself, and I can see people using it, and I know people who do use it for other purposes beyond the shipment of the product. Merit also has a lot of different sets on their website, so if you're interested in 2 or more of these products, there are a lot of ways you can mix and match products and save a little bit of money by shopping directly on their website. In terms of what's next for the brand, Merit actually just announced that they're starting to do skincare. So today they actually announced what's called Great Skin, and it is an instant glow serum. Quote, a lightweight bi-phase serum that instantly hydrates and plumps skin for a healthy glow, end quote. So it contains niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, a few other botanicals, and this is going to launch in October. I think it very much makes sense for Merit to venture into skincare because they are very skin focused and dewy skin focused, glow focused. So to me, this is a natural next step for the brand. I don't know if I'm necessarily gonna run out and buy it. I like my makeup brands for makeup and I like skincare brands for skincare. But, you know, I'm open to seeing what they do and I will keep an eye out for the product for sure. Personally, I would love if Merit would continue to build out their color category. So I would love to see, as I mentioned, eyeshadows, whether that's cream eyeshadows, liquid eyeshadows, duos or quads. I would love to see the eye category in general be a little bit more robust. That would also naturally include eyeliners, brow pencils, like I mentioned earlier. I would also love to see lip liners from Merit Beauty. I think they do such beautiful and complex, sophisticated shades when it comes to their lip products that I would love to have lip pencils to pair them with. And finally, I would love to see some powder products from Merit just so that the brand is more accessible for people with oily skin types. I think there's a way that they could do the powder category that still honors the very skin-like and dewy aesthetic of the brand, but allows oily skin types to use more of their products. And I would love to see Merit get into more refillable packaging just because they do mention sustainability on their website. That would be a really nice development, I think, for their packaging. Overall, my favorite products from the brand are the lip products, the lip oil and the lipstick, as well as their mascara. I think those are my favorites because they work for everybody and they work in so many different scenarios and they're not skin type specific. My least favorite product is their brow pomade. Again, not because it's not a good product, it's just not the product for my brow type. I think that covers the bases for my brand review of Merit Beauty. I know this is probably a long video, so if you made it to the end, thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions for me or anything I didn't cover with any of the products, let me know in the comments and I will meet you there. And if this was helpful, I would love if you would like and subscribe to my channel. I'd also love to know if there's a brand you'd like to see for my next brand review. These are videos that take a lot more time and research and investment because I'm buying and testing and trying products. So I do put a lot of thought into the brand review videos and I'd love to know what you want to see. So let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.